Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an honor and a privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me here today on this Sunday edition. You know, here on the weekends, I like to take things a little bit more casually on the weekends. We just get a little bit more interactive. You'll notice that yesterday there was no episode of the John Campea Show on Saturday. That's because Ann and I decided to go out of town for the day, so there was no episode there. Every once in a while, I know the 7 days a week thing gets a little tiring, and I have to take one day off, so I took yesterday off. I hope you guys missed me because I missed you, and we are back here again today. All right, guys, so here's how today is going to go. I have picked out 5 topics that you guys have emailed in to me, and I cannot wait to get to them. Once we get through those topics, I'm going to go and take some of your guys' live questions. So, with all that out of the way, let's jump into the first question today. And the first question today comes to us from, where does it come from? It comes to us from Jason Miller. And Jason Miller writes, Black Panther did the unbelievable and kept the #1 box office spot again this weekend. How impressive is this? I think it will be #1 again next weekend. What do you think? Thanks, and bring on the filthy. Well, thanks so much for the question, man. And okay, here's the thing. Yes, Black Panther once again took the #1 spot at the box office. Here's your weekend box office rundown. Black Panther took in $41 million this weekend, just a 40% drop from last week. A Wrinkle in Time made $33 million, so right in the neighborhood of where they thought it would open. Strangers, Pray at Night made pretty good, $10.4 million for its opening weekend. Red Sparrow continues to disappoint a little bit, taking an 8.1. And Game Night stays in the top 5 for the 3rd week in a row, making almost another $8 million. Now, as far as the question goes about how nobody thought that Black Panther would beat Wrinkle in Time at the box office, that's simply not true. There were some people out there that didn't think Black Panther would beat Wrinkle in Time. There are some people who did, but there was an awful lot of people who didn't think that. I was one of you guys know I talked about on my show that I didn't see Wrinkle in Time beating it, especially once I saw Wrinkle in Time, and I realized it's not all that good. And I didn't think the positive word of mouth would be there. Obviously, there wasn't going to be a big critic push. So I said, I think Wrinkle in Time needs to hit that $38 to $40 million in order to beat it. And if it did make that much money, it would have come close, like real close to beating it. But it didn't. It made $33 million. Black Panther comes in with 41. So there are people who didn't think Black Panther would beat Wrinkle, but I don't think those were the majority of people. I mean, yeah, 2 or 3 months ago, we would have said Black Panther in its 4th weekend would probably lose to Wrinkle in Time. But lately, I don't think a lot of people have said that. Now, on to the second part of your question, which is, do we think that Black Panther can stay #1 at the box office next weekend? And my answer to that is no. No, it will not stay at #1 at the box office next weekend. If Black Panther stays on its course, let's just say it just takes another 40% drop, right? Let's say it takes a 40% drop next weekend. Okay, so that means it'll probably make Black Panther next weekend will make in the neighborhood of about 20, and it could take a bigger dive than just 40%, but let's say 40%. Black Panther will probably come in making in the neighborhood of like $25 million, yeah, something like that, 26, 27, in that neighborhood, which would be a great number for its 5th weekend. Fantastic number. I believe Tomb Raider is going to make more than $25, $26, $27 million next weekend. I think if Wrinkle in Time can come out and make 33 plus, I do think Tomb Raider is going to come out. There's a lot of people who like that game. Not enough to make it an $80 million opening weekend, but I do believe Tomb Raider is going to probably go north of 30 million, and I don't think Black Panther will go north of 30 million next weekend. So yes, next weekend, it'll be the 5th weekend, dear heavens. But finally, on its 5th weekend, I believe Black Panther will finally fall out of that #1 spot, and it'll go to Tomb Raider. So, and what an impressive run this whole Black Panther run has been. It's been absolutely fantastic. But yeah, next weekend marks the end of the run for Black Panther. I completely believe that. Because look, there's no reason, nothing we have seen suggests that Black Panther will take less than a 25% drop. There is nothing to suggest that. Every weekend's taken, 40+% drops, right in that range, right? There's no reason to expect it'll take less than a 25% drop after 4 weeks in the theater next week. And I also don't think there's much reason to doubt that Tomb Raider can make north of 25 million. So you put those numbers together, it's going to be Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider will take it next weekend. I would put the over-under at 81%. 81% that Tomb Raider beats Black Panther at the box office next weekend, ending what has been a hell of an impressive run at the number one spot 4 weeks in a row. Just incredible. And by the way, Black Panther has now officially crossed $1 billion. It's still a little bit behind the pace of Star Wars The Last Jedi, but I mean, it's got better momentum than Star Wars The Last Jedi did. I'm expecting Black Panther will probably end up around the 1.5, 1.4 billion dollar mark at this point. China's numbers are coming out. China's numbers look strong. So we'll find out later today what the weekend was like in China as it opened in China this past weekend. So we'll see how that all goes. But I'm expecting Black Panther to come in the 1.4, 1.5 billion dollar range. And who would have thought that? Who would have thought that? Again, just to illustrate how big this is for Black Panther. Imagine, go back 2 years. Let's go back 2 years. If somebody had come up to me and said, hey, John, in 2 years, we're going to have a Justice League movie out and we're going to have Black Panther. And Black Panther will make more than double. Not just beat, but make more than double what a Justice League movie does. I would have said you're crazy. Absolutely crazy. Everybody would have said you were crazy. Ryan Coogler would have said you were crazy. Michael B. Jordan would have said you were crazy. Everybody would have said you're crazy. And again, that's not putting Justice League numbers down. It's just illustrating how huge this Black Panther success has been. It's nuts. All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from one of our Patreon supporters, Justin Lee. Thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter, Justin. Like you usually say, I should say, like you usually say, most movies that are about the bad guy usually end up with us finding out that they have somewhat of a good heart. There's a more evil antagonist for them to stop or go against. But what do you think about the film Nightcrawler and the way the main character was presented? In your opinion, is that movie truly about a bad guy? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Justin. And that's a great example. Fantastic example, because, we often talk about movies about the bad guys. And one of the things that I always come back to is we've never really had truly a movie about the bad guy. It always ends, when they say the movie's about the bad guy, it's about the bad guy acting heroic. Or the bad guy is just really misunderstood. Nightcrawler is a great example, though. That's a really good one to bring up. I think, and I could be convinced otherwise, believe me, I could. My first impression, though, is that Nightcrawler, when the movie starts, he's not a villain, per se. I think Nightcrawler is not a movie about the bad guy, but rather a look at a guy who's already just morally questionable, who just descends further and further and further until you get to the end of the movie, and he truly is a villain by the time you get to the end of that movie. But the movie is really more about not following the villain. It's a movie about this guy who starts off pretty shady, and he just descends further and further and further and further until you get to the climax of the film, and ba-ba, you have your villain. This guy is a straight-up villain. But I don't know that you can say the movie's about that, because that's just where the movie ends off. So my first reaction, again, you guys could change my mind on this. That happens a lot. You could change my mind on this, but my first impression, my first gut reaction to that whole notion is that I still don't even think Nightcrawler is a movie about the bad guy, because he's not necessarily straight up villainous throughout the whole thing. He's shady. He's morally questionable. I wouldn't trust him to babysit my daughter, but the movie's really more about his descent to becoming that character rather than a movie about the bad guy being the bad guy. So that's just how I feel. Maybe you guys feel different. Jake Gyllenhaal didn't get a Best Actor nomination for that. I remember that year was such a ridiculously stacked year. I think that's the same year that Tom Hanks didn't get a Best Director or a Best Actor nomination for his performance in Captain Phillip. I mean, that's how stacked that year was in the Best Actor category. It was absolutely crazy. All right, let's move on to question number 3. And question number 3 comes to us from Samuel Polay, who writes, So today I went to get my ticket for my 4th screening of Black Panther. You and me both, buddy. And the MoviePass app said that I would need to take a picture of my ticket stub using the in-app camera. They also said that my account could be terminated if I failed to do this with all future film screenings. What's the deal with this? Are they trying to verify I'm not buying the wrong tickets, or is this some way to access my phone's camera and sell that data? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Samuel. And look, MoviePass has come up on my show quite a bit in the last couple of weeks for all the wrong reasons. You know that I believe that MoviePass is a shady company. It's a company being run by Jake Gyllenhaal from Nightcrawler. In my opinion, it is a shady company with shady business practices, and I just don't trust them an awful lot. Now, it's a great service, and full disclosure, I am a member of MoviePass. I carry a MoviePass card in my wallet. I use it. I'm also a Cinemia member. I recommend you use Cinemia, but I carry both, and I'm happy to carry both. I like both services very much, and I'm more than happy to use their service. But I think they're a pretty shady company. And we've gone over multiple times why I find them to be a pretty shady company. Now, there's this new policy that's coming out. They're testing this policy right now. That on top of everything else you need to do, once you print your tickets at the kiosk, MoviePass wants you to use the MoviePass camera and take a picture of that ticket, so it'll upload. Is this them being shady again? Honestly, I'm going to come to MoviePass's defense on this one. I actually don't think there's anything wrong with this, and here's why. First of all, taking a picture of your ticket is not an invasion of privacy. You're already letting MoviePass know you're going to see that movie by registering for it on the app. So there's no invasion of privacy here. You've already told the company you're going. The problem is with services like MoviePass with Cinemia, people are coming up with new ways to abuse the system and to get around its safeguards. Now, maybe they have discovered a way that some people are registering for tickets, not actually buying them, just using their purchase tickets to get their movie club points or something, whatever. To have you actually have to take a picture of the ticket stub, really, because maybe some people, your phone's GPS tells MoviePass that you're actually at the theater buying your ticket, but maybe some people have found a way to game that GPS data and fool MoviePass into thinking you're actually there to get a ticket, whatever. To add that extra one little step to take a picture of the stub just is another layer of protection for their system to safeguard against abuse. Now remember, I'm the guy who says MoviePass is a shady company. I'm the guy who has been pointing out over the last few weeks all these different things that they're doing are shady, but I gotta defend them on this one. To me, it's not a big deal. But John, it's a pain in the ass to do that. Come on, it's not that big of a pain in the ass. You've already got your phone out because you did the MoviePass thing. You just print your ticket. All you gotta do is hold your ticket, snap a picture. It's no way an invasion of privacy. Tens of thousands of apps access your camera. They wouldn't do something as underhanded as sell your, illegally without your permission, go in and find your picture data and sell that picture data. They know they could get in a huge amount of trouble for that. So, no, honestly, this is one situation where I will actually step up and defend MoviePass and say, I don't see there's anything wrong with it. I mean, I'd rather not have to do that, but I would get why maybe they would want to do it if it is to protect against abuse of the system. I get it. I'm fine with it. It's not that big of a pain to just hold up your stub and take a snap picture. So I'm going to defend them on this one and say I don't think they're doing anything shady with this thing. With this one thing, I don't think they're doing anything shady. All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Ben Landers, who writes, Hey, John, I wanted to ask you about the, in my view, nonsense notion that the hiring of Jon Favreau for the new Star Wars series is, quote-unquote, just another white male being hired, blah, blah. Shouldn't the studios hire the right person for the job? Is there danger of the pendulum swinging too far? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Ben. And this actually came up in the live chat of one of my shows recently where somebody brought this up. Let me say this, just to be very, 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 very clear. You have to be purposefully naive to not recognize that there has been a major problem in Hollywood of Hollywood not offering opportunities to female directors and non-white dude directors. You'd have to be purposefully ignorant and naive to not recognize that issue. Yes, you can say, shouldn't they just be hiring the best person for the job? Yes, but when you go down the list of which I did once, like of the 100 most recently released wide release movies, and 2 of them were not directed by white dudes. 2 out of the last 100. That is what they call in poker terms, a high mathematical improbability. To say that, oh no, it's an even playing field, they just happen to be giving 98 out of the last 100 wide release films to white dudes, that is what we call in poker an extreme mathematical improbability. Okay? It's not just as simple as, oh, no, they're just giving the jobs to the best person. That is a highly mathematical improbability. All right? You would have to be purposefully sticking your head in the sand to not recognize there has been a disproportionate unfair practices when it comes to hiring women or non-white guys in director roles. There just has been. And there has to be some attention paid to that. There has to be some systems put into place to make sure that, hey, maybe you don't necessarily hire the female director, but at least make sure there are principles and safeguards in place to make sure they get an equal opportunity to take a shot at that, to get a shot at getting that director's job. That has to be something that's in place, and clearly something that has not been in place for the past 50 years. All right? So let's be clear about that. There are changes that need to be made. That being said, you cannot swing the pendulum too far the other way to the point where hiring a white guy for a director's job is somehow now in and of itself a bad thing or a scandalous thing. That's not the answer. That's not how we get good, effective change. By jumping up and down now and saying anytime a white director is hired for something, a white male director is hired for something, that is not the way to get the change that we need in Hollywood. We need a change in Hollywood for more visible minorities, for more female directors, for more diversity in these directors' chairs. We need that change. But jumping up and down and complaining every time a white guy, regardless of how unbelievably qualified that white dude is for that particular job, is not the way we're going to get that change. All right? It's just not the way we're going to get that change. Jon Favreau is a uniquely highly qualified dude for that gig. Understanding his history with Star Wars, understanding he's got a track record of success right now, especially for Disney, the fact that he's so high up on Disney's favorite kids list right now, all these things equal up to this is a no-brainer. Jon Favreau getting this gig is a no-brainer. This should not be, and it's I find it especially funny that there would be complaints about Disney hiring Jon Favreau just because he's a white dude, when Disney is the exact same company that you knew what the top 2 movies in America are right now? 2 Disney films, both of them not directed by white dudes. And yet here we are complaining about Disney hiring a white dude to do this one particular gig. Again, let me reemphasize the thing I said at first, because this is vitally important. Do not fool yourself into thinking there's not a problem about minority and women directors not getting a fair shot at these jobs. Don't fool yourself into thinking that's not a problem. It is a problem. It needs to be addressed. It has to be addressed. And we're starting to see Hollywood take some steps to addressing it. All I'm saying is to vilify an isolated one thing like Jon Favreau, who's clearly highly and superiorly qualified for this one particular gig, criticizing that hire is not the way we're going to get more equality and more fairness and more equal opportunity in the business. Acting irrationally one way is not going to fix the irrational on the other side. Okay? Acting out of control and irrational is not going to fix the out of control and irrational. That's not the answer to it. We got to get to a solid middle ground. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on that, and thank you for asking. All right, now the final email question in today comes to us from James F. And James F. writes, "Hey John, my question, have you seen the latest trailer for Illumination's Grinch movie, and what did you think of it? I personally dislike how they're changing the Grinch from a character feared by Whoville into a more just grumpy guy that Whoville seems to tolerate? Thanks. All right, thanks a lot for the question, James. And honestly, I wouldn't read too much into it. I mean, if all you're looking for is for illuminate, I'm not saying this is what you're doing. I'm just saying in general. If what somebody is looking for is just a beat by beat exact replica of what the Grinch already is, well then no matter what changes they make, people aren't going to be happy. I found the spirit of the trailer to be very consistent with what the spirit of the Grinch is. Clearly the Grinch is an outsider to Whoville. He doesn't live within the boundaries of Whoville. I mean, he's a different enough cat. I found the spirit of the trailer completely in line with the spirit of it. I also found there were a couple of good laughs in the trailer. There were. The whole thing about the top shelf stuff, that was funny. Okay, I had a good time at that. I giggled at that. Here's my one big thing. And maybe I'm in the minority on this. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I am a big fan of Benedict Cumberbatch. I'm a big fan of Benedict Cumberbatch. I don't know that he was the right guy to get to voice the Grinch. Because I hear his voice as the Grinch, I'm just like, oh, I don't know if this is working for me. Now, granted, it is a tiny, tiny sample size. It's just a trailer. We only heard a couple of lines come out of his mouth. So, look, maybe we'll watch the movie, and in context, it'll be perfect voice casting. I'm just saying my initial reaction to the trailer was, oh, I don't know if he's a super talented dude, but I don't know if that's the right voice. I don't know if that's the right voice coming out of this character for me. So that was my one little hesitation. Look, overall, I thought the trailer was pretty cute. I'm not jumping up and down with excitement about it yet. Let's wait to see when more trailers come out. I'm not quite so sure how I feel about Benedict being the voice of the Grinch because it didn't quite work for me in the trailer. But then again, it was a tiny sample size. Let's wait and see. Overall, I thought it was cute. And let's see what it really kind of transpires into. All right, guys. Now, I'm about to go to your live questions, but before I do get to your live questions, I want to remind you one last time, because on tomorrow's, the Monday edition of the John Campea Show, we're going to have our first installment of the What We're Watching segment on the show. It's just going to be like 5 minutes long, but I'm really excited about this. For those of you guys, because a bunch of you guys are the ones who have told me about this little app called the Stardust app. And the Stardust app is terrific for film fans. And you guys know I turn a lot of sponsorship down, but these guys reached out to me. I love this app, and I was more than happy and thrilled to have these guys come on as a sponsor of the John Campea Show. Here's how the Stardust app works. You simply download the app, look for a link to the app in my description of this video, and download it there. And what you do is you record a 3 to 30 second quick reaction to a TV show, a trailer, or a movie, right? And give your quick reaction. Make a recommendation of a movie. Let people know what you thought about the movie. But it goes one step further. When you record something, if you want to see your reaction pop up on the John Campea Show, what you can do is, as you're doing reaction, you just hit the record button, you record your video. Once it's done, you hit the next or the edit button, and then just tag me. Just type in @John Campea, all one word, in the tag screen. That way I'll see that you tagged me in it. And then on a couple of shows a week on the John Campea Show, I'm going to do a segment called What We're Watching, where I'm going to showcase a bunch of your reactions to the TV shows, trailers, and movies that we've been watching. I'm very excited about doing it. The first one is tomorrow. So go down to the description of this video, find the link to the Stardust app. It's right there near the top. Download the app. It actually supports me when you do that. And then start using the app. And don't forget, if you got something you want to tag me on, make sure you tag me in your video as well. Okay. With that out of the way, let's go over to the live questions now. And here are the live questions you guys have started sending in. By the way, guys, if I don't get to one of your live questions, then I will answer it on another video, either later today or sometime tomorrow. So if I don't get your question today, don't worry. Your question will get answered on one of my shows. It just might not be today. All right, let's get things rolling here. And the first live question today comes to us from Richard Green, who writes, access to the Stargate IP is now a $20 all-access fee. Is there a danger that putting, I don't know what CU means, is there a danger that putting CU/IP behind its own paywall will become a trend? Well, we're only in danger of that becoming a trend if people support it. Like, if they launch this Stargate thing and nobody subscribes to it, and they don't make enough money to support it, then not a lot of other companies are going to follow suit. Now, CBS All Access just had some success with that. Now, CBS All Access is more than just Star Trek Discovery. But the big thing was, if you wanted to watch Star Trek Discovery, you had to get CBS All Access. Now, they put a lot of other content on there too, fair enough. And that seems to have worked for them. But then again, it's not $20 a month. It's just like $5 a month or something. If Stargate comes out with its own exclusive streaming network for Stargate stuff, and people sign up for $20 a month. And by the way, I don't know if that's the cost or I'm just taking your word for it here, Richard. I haven't looked into the cost of the Stargate app or the Stargate streaming service. If it's a success and people sign up for it and people support it and it's making money, then yes, we are going to be in a position where a whole hell of a lot of individual IPs are going to create their own unique streaming services for whatever. So instead of paying like $18 a month for, Netflix, you're going to be paying $10 a month just for Breaking Bad. And then you're going to be paying another $8 a month just for Will and Grace. And then you're going to be paying another $8 a month just for this and this and this. If this becomes a trend and becomes successful for the studios, it's going to do that. That being said, I don't think there's going to be a whole hell of a lot of people that sign up for this Stargate thing. I just don't see it happening. Stargate has a very passionate but small user base, and I don't even think everybody who would count themselves as a major Stargate fan is necessarily going to sign up for a streaming service that's just Stargate. I don't know that they're going to do that. So in asking, will this become a trend, it all depends on how successful it is. If we, the consumers, make it successful, then you're damn right, a whole hell of a lot of people are going to start, a whole hell of a lot of companies and businesses are going to start using that as a way of doing business. All right, let's move on now. The next question comes to us from Curtis Lopez, who writes, who wins a witty retort showdown, Loki or Tyrion Lannister? Oh, Loki's great with the witty retorts, but let's not kid ourselves. The king on the Iron Throne when it comes to witty retorts is Tyrion Lannister. Without question, it's Tyrion Lannister. So I would go with Tyrion Lannister. Lannister would win that battle. Ben Rayner writes, Bruce Campbell or Nathan Fillion, which do you like more? Hey, I like these guys both very, very, very much. They're both so good at what they do, but Nathan Fillion is a little bit more diverse. There's more tools in Nathan Fillion's toolbox of talent than, say, Bruce Campbell does. And I'm a huge fan of Bruce Campbell, don't get me wrong. But if I had to pick just one over the other, I'm probably taking Nathan Fillion over Bruce Campbell. But I love them both. Love them both. Curtis Lopez writes, favorite lyrical song from a movie, not score or instrumental. Oh, I don't know, man. That's something I would have to sit down and think about for a while. Probably something from like a Disney animated, because there's so many great ones, Be Prepared, Hakuna Matata, a number of the songs from Aladdin, Mr. Aladdin, sir. I mean, that's so many great numbers from Aladdin. I mean, again, not something I can answer off the top of my head. I would actually have to sit down and think that one out for a while. Let's see. Dupes. Oh, wow. A lot of you guys are sending questions. Okay. The next one comes to us from Daniel Briggs, who writes, when do you expect to see probably the final Infinity War trailer? It's so crazy. I get this question every single day. When's the next Infinity War trailer? When's the next Infinity War trailer? Here's the thing. I don't even know that the next Infinity War trailer is necessarily the last one. I think we may get another trailer like 2 weeks before the movie comes out. All I can say is just what I've been saying all along, which is the answer to that question is soon. I believe we are getting the next Infinity War trailer soon, probably within the week. I'm guessing within the week. We're now just about 7 weeks away from Infinity War coming out. I think we're going to get a new trailer within the week, and then I think we're going to get another one too. I think we'll get another one after that. Let's see. Next one comes to us from Orange Hand, who writes, Tomb Raider is upon us. I was wondering, what do you think of Dominic West? Hard to believe he's a British after watching The Wire. I love Dominic West. I had the great privilege of hanging out for just a little bit in Arizona with Dominic West. And I was actually geeking out. It was funny because I think he was expecting me to geek out with him over The Wire. But at the time, I hadn't seen The Wire yet. I was actually geeking out with him over Johnny English because Dominic West played a villain in I think the second Johnny English movie. And I thought he was terrific in it, and I was geeking out with him over that. But of course, Dominic West also, he's appeared like in 300, and he was really good in 300. I love Dominic West as an actor. I think he's got great diversity, and you're right. If your first exposure to Dominic West is The Wire, you would never believe it when you sit down and talk to him in person. He's got this English accent, this heavy English accent. I'm a big fan, just a big fan of Dominic West. I really am. Manuel Fernandez writes, "Hey, John, hope your weekend's going well." Thank you so much. I've had a great weekend so far, actually. Sorry you didn't like Jessica Jones Season 2. I personally really enjoyed it. Will you put up a review for it? Yeah, I was going to put up a review on Friday, but Friday just got too busy. And then yesterday, Ann and I went out of town. I will get up a review for Jessica. I'm pretty sure I'll get up a review for Jessica Jones Season 2. I thought it was painfully boring. I mean, the one thing that Jessica Jones Season 1 had going for it was a terrific villain in Kilgrave, and then basically there's no real villain. For the vast majority of the season, there's no real villain. There's no overarching plot line. It's just, look, Jessica's sad. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it. I wanted to like it. I was hyped for watching it. I got through the first season, and I just didn't dig it. So, but yeah, I will probably put up a review for it at some point. Let's see. Rex Cousins writes, "Do you think the director is in control of Marvel post-credit scenes, or does Marvel upper management decide, especially if they're setting up other movies?" Yeah, I think that's a Kevin Feige call. Post-credit scenes are mostly Kevin Feige's call. And then he'll let, like, I remember this one time they were, there was a post-credit scene, I think something that was hinting towards the next movie, and they brought in the director of the next movie to kind of direct that post-credit scene. I can't remember the exact example. But yeah, I think post-credit scenes are a Kevin Feige call, as is most things in the MCU. Let's see. Kick It to the King writes, "Is Stan Lee the Soul Stone?" There have been some crazy theories about Stan Lee's, that maybe Stan Lee's random cameos aren't just random cameos. What if Stan Lee is actually a watcher? Or what if Stan Lee is actually the living embodiment of the Soul Stone? Or what if this one... That would be a kick in the pants. It would be dumb as hell, but it would be a kick in the pants. It would be pretty funny if they did that. They would not do that. So no chance that's going to happen. But how funny would that be if that was the plan all along? Sharon Aurora writes, "Thank God you're back. I went insane yesterday without you." Well, thank you so much, Sharon. I'm very happy to be back. It's good to have you guys with me. Patrick Conway writes, "A lot of people online are saying Black Widow would be R-rated. I don't believe it will need to be. Winter Soldier and Dark Knight is serious PG-13. I don't think they'd make Black Widow R-rated now. Nope. No reason to do it. She's a core part of the MCU. They haven't done any MCU R-rated stuff so far. I just don't see. Hey, look, is it within the realm of possibility? Sure, it's within the realm of possibility, but I don't see it happening. They haven't even had Black Widow, off the top of my head, I don't think she swore once in any of the movies. So I don't see their need to make it R-rated. And considering she's a core part of the Avengers, and they've all been ridiculously successful without being R-rated, I don't see any reason why they would break that trend. Let's see. Chris Mullen writes, I haven't read Ready Player One. The movie looks really good. I think the movie looks great. Like, forget about those ridiculous 80s posters that they just put out. Yeah, those weren't very good. But forget that. The movie looks great. I'm very excited for Ready Player One. I also have not read the book. I've heard a lot of the book because Anne was listening to it as an audiobook, so I heard a lot of it. But I think the movie looks fantastic. You got the greatest filmmaker of all time and Steven Spielberg in there. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. Kevin Bennett writes, "I understand the 100th episode in TV is an important milestone because it allows for a syndication package. Is this why Disney has kept Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Well, it's not that the 100 episode mark is necessarily like the trigger point. Generally speaking, before, what it used to be is to ensure your TV show, even after it gets canceled, will live on in syndication. From my understanding that I've always had is that the magic number is 3 seasons. As long as you have 3 seasons of a show, that puts you in a position where you can have a good possibility for syndication once the show gets canceled. So I don't think it's necessarily the 100th episode. Although if you reach 100 episode, you're definitely in a good spot for syndication. But no, that's not why they've kept Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on. Look, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. hasn't been a powerhouse ratings, but it's maintained good enough ratings to keep it on. It has. And look, I'm a critic of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has maintained decent enough numbers to justify keeping it on the air. So I don't think they needed any more kind of beyond that at this point. And besides, even just after 3 seasons, I think they were in a position that it could live in syndication. And let's be honest here. We know where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to live once it's canceled. It's going to live on the Disney streaming service. That's where they're going to put it. So I don't think the 100th episode thing, or they just stretched it out to 100 to get syndicated. I don't think that's part of it. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it would be off the top of my head. All right. Stephen Rowley writes, "Hey, John, which website did you use to raise money for your book? It was a GoFundMe or something else." It was Kickstarter. Kickstarter because John Schnepp used Kickstarter to get his movie, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. Actually, he used several services, but that's one of the ones that he used. So that was the one that I was most familiar with. And like John gave me some really good tips on using that. And it's because of the people on Patreon that I was able to get that book done. So thank you so much to everybody for that. Let's see. ZOMG Ruler writes, "How different would things be if 2008 Justice League movie was made?" Well, it would be very different today, but who knows? And when he's talking about the 2008 Justice League, we're talking about the George Miller, the one that George Miller, director of Mad Max Fury Road, the director of Babe, the director of Happy Feet. He was trying to make a Justice League. Most of you guys know this story by now, but George Miller was going to make a Justice League movie. And they had pulled everything together. They had cast it. Armie Hammer was going to be Batman before anybody knew who Armie Hammer was. And they were like literally just weeks away from starting shooting. Everything was in place, and then they pulled the plug on it. How different would it be? It's impossible to say. If the movie had come out and it was a big hit, things would probably be very different today. If it came out and it was just tanked, then maybe we'd still be in the same place today that we were before. Maybe then they still do Man of Steel a few years later and everything else unfolds just the way it is. So it's hard to say about how would things be different when we just don't know how that one thing would have turned out. It all depends on how good that Justice League movie would have been. If it was good, it would have changed things in one way. If it was bad, maybe it wouldn't have changed things. We'll just never know. Next one comes to us from Sam Fisher. And Sam Fisher writes, "When are you going to start What We're Watching?" Oh, okay. When are you going to start What We're Watching? Also, Jude Law being Best Actor without an Oscar. Also, who is your choice for Best Actor without an Emmy? Well, I only tend to answer one question at a time. I've already answered the What We're Watching part. Jude Law, I like Jude Law very much. I think he's a terrific actor. I don't know that he's not in the same category as a Ralph Fiennes. I think I still take Jake Gyllenhaal over him personally. But look, I'm a producer of a movie, and you're my assistant. You come to me, "Hey, I think I can get Jude Law in the film." I'm throwing a party. I'm throwing a huge party if that happens. I love Jude Law. I think he's incredibly talented, but I don't really, I personally wouldn't put him on my list of best actors without an Oscar, that top 2 or 3 or 4 list. But hey, I'm sure a lot of other people would. Absolutely. James Welsh writes, "If Wakanda Tech can heal a bullet to the spine, could they heal Doctor Strange's hands?" Whatever the writers say it can do. The writers can say, yeah, it can heal a spinal injury, but healing Doctor Strange's hands, it's degenerative, too much nerve damage in the hand. They could say that. So, hey, look, it's kind of like the same question about who would win, this comic book superhero or this comic book superhero? The answer is whoever the writer says wins. That's really how it goes. When you live in a world where Batman beats Superman, then it's just whoever the writer says wins. That's really what it comes down to. Could they heal Doctor Strange's hands? I don't know. It's up to the writers. The writers would be the ones that have to tell us that. They seem to be the ones to be making the rules as they go. Trevor Riches writes, "Hey, John, it's my birthday today. Happy birthday, Trevor. It was my birthday the other week. Happy birthday to you, man. I hope you're having a good one. It's my birthday today, and I'm going to treat myself by asking you a question." All right, here we go. "What are your favorite Disneyland rides? Also, also, I'd love it if you check out my second channel, Rich's Movie Talks." Well, as far as my favorite rides at Disneyland, beyond a shadow of a doubt, my favorite ride at Disneyland is the Indiana Jones ride. It's just so wonderfully put together. You feel like you're in an Indiana Jones action adventure sequence. It's just so much fun. So yeah, that one is an easy one for me. Disneyland, my absolute favorite ride, no question, remains to this day, is the Indiana Jones ride. And just a couple of years ago, they actually revamped it. And it's made the ride even better. The ride's even better now. And I was on the ride this one time. Ann and I went on the ride. We're halfway through the ride. We got about halfway through the ride, and they had a problem, so the ride stopped. So we're sitting there for about 5, 6, 7 minutes because the ride stopped. Then they started it up again, and we got through the rest. And when we got to the end, they said, hey guys, to make up for the fact that you had to wait so long, we're going to let you take the ride again. You want to take the ride again right now? And we're all like, hell yeah. And we got to take the ride again, which if you understand how long you have to stand in lines at Disneyland to get on a ride, being offered another shot the ride right now is a huge deal. So that's my favorite thing about that. And once again, Trevor, happy birthday, man. Hope you have a good one. All right. Wilfredo Rivera writes, whose career-defining role was more significant? Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man or Heath Ledger's as Joker? Also, which role helped change the comic book movie genre? Neither of them. Neither of them changed the comic book movie genre per se. But the answer has to be Robert Downey Jr. because we will never know what impact Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker would have done for his career. We'll never know. I mean, for all we know, he gets Heath Ledger does that movie and then gets just completely typecast for it and then never gets another acting job. I mean, that's unlikely, but I'm just saying we'll never know. And since the answer to the Heath Ledger part is we'll never know how defining that really would have become for his career overall, as we do with Robert Downey Jr. I mean, that role took Robert Downey Jr. from a guy trying to make a comeback in Hollywood to being one of the premier A-list stars in Hollywood. He's one of the most recognizable faces now in Hollywood. You know, after his multiple, personal struggles, he was trying to make a comeback. That movie comes along, boom, it redefined him. And sadly, we'll never know what kind of effect Heath Ledger's role as a Joker would have had on his career. We'll just never know. All right, next one comes to us from Chris Martin, who writes, Idris Elba as Shere Khan casting was so awesome. Disney is so great with picking talent. Yeah, I mean, whoever the casting people are over at Disney for their main hub of films does a really good job. You're right. Idris Elba's voice as Shere Khan was fantastic. Although, I'm sure there are 40 other guys they could have got who also would have done a great job for sure. I'm never going to say that Idris Elba is the only one who could have done the voice of Shere Khan, but it was a very good match. They got a guy who made a very good match for that role and did a great job with it. And Shere Khan, the character of Shere Khan is just one of the many reasons why I love that Jon Favreau Jungle Book, man. Just so great. I love that movie, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do with the Lion King reboot. All right. Next question comes to us from Drinks on Me, who writes, I'm very optimistic for Terminator. I like when the original directors take the helm of the projects. There's a good track record of it delivering. Mad Max, Blade Runner 2040. Well, remember though, James Cameron is not directing this Terminator film. That's the thing everybody's got to keep in mind. James Cameron is not directing this Terminator film. Tim Miller is. And before you go, yeah, but James Cameron's going to be really involved in it. No, he's not. James Cameron is making 85 other Avatar movies. That's where that he is directing. 99% of James Cameron's attention over the next number of years is going to be on Avatar and his multiple films he's making. I'm sure James Cameron's going to have phone calls with Tim Miller. He's going to make some calls on, okay, go this big picture thing. But don't get too excited about James Cameron's involvement when he's really not going to be that involved. I believe he'll have the final say on a number of things, and remember, James Cameron also thought Terminator Genisys was fantastic. And hey, all film is subjective. I'm sure there's some other people out there who thought Terminator Genisys was fantastic. Nothing wrong with that. But a lot of us didn't think it was all that good. So I am very curious about this Terminator movie, like with Linda coming back, with Arnold coming back, them saying that everything after Terminator 2 doesn't really exist. This is a sequel to Terminator 2. I'm fascinated by all of this. The talks that it looks like Mackenzie Davis is going to be taking on a key role in the film. That's got me excited. I think there's many reasons to be encouraged and enthusiastic about this potential for a Terminator movie. But I'm just saying, don't let James Cameron's involvement get you too excited because, again, I think his involvement is going to be fairly limited because no matter how much he says he's going to be involved, the reality is he's making other movies at the same time that he's actually directing. and that will limit how much his involvement in this movie can be. Although Tim Miller's directing it, and the guy directed Deadpool, so I mean that's cause to be enthusiastic too. Chris Martin writes, John, have you seen the 2003 Peter Pan directed by J.P. Hogan? Jason Isaacs as Hook, not as good as Dustin Hoffman, but still awesome. I don't think I have, because that's not Pan, unless you're talking about Pan and you got the year wrong. I'll say, let me just look it up here. Peter Pan 2003. Oh, I did see that one. That tells you what I thought about it. I completely forgot about that one and put it completely out of my head. Yes, I did see that one. I wasn't all that excited about it. It wasn't bad. It was okay, but it was another Peter Pan incarnation. It was okay. Actually, I probably like it more than the Hugh Jackman, the one where Hugh Jackman was in. I probably like it better than that one, but yeah, I didn't even remember that film. Okay, let's move on. Jason Belmer writes, hey, John, do you think the next Infinity War trailer will help Black Panther in the coming weeks bring new audiences? Or will it overshadow it completely? Up the filthy. Oh, I don't think it's going to have any effect at all on Black Panther. Black Panther's massive success, its huge, incredible, historic run, its relevance to the pop culture, all that kind of stuff. A trailer for Infinity War is not going to bolster Black Panther at this point. I don't think it's going to have any effect whatsoever on Black Panther at this point. Anybody who's been interested in seeing Black Panther has seen it already. Now it's a bunch of people, a few scragglers, and a bunch of people going back to see it for a second, third, or in my case, a fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh time. So no, I honestly don't think it's going to have that much an effect on it at all. One way or the other. I really don't. Let's see. Van Sensei writes, thoughts on Why to Mama Tai Bien, great Quran film. Well, it was the movie that put him on the map. It is absolutely the movie that put him on the map. It's edgy. Here's the thing. I don't think it is, and you hear me say this about a bunch of films, I don't think it's the earth shook, this movie's so good. I don't think it's that good, but I think it's very good. It is risque. It pushes boundaries. It absolutely does. It explores some themes that a lot of filmmakers wouldn't be comfortable exploring, for sure. And if you haven't seen it, you should totally check it out. You may like it, you may not. But but it's definitely the one that put him on the map. No doubts about that. All right. Chris Martin writes, could you possibly get Sam Witwer on your Star Wars show on Sundays, or maybe Kyle Newman? I've generally gone away from getting them. I could probably reach out to Kyle and ask him to be on it. I could reach out to Sam and ask him to be on it. But remember, these guys are busy. I mean, I think a lot of people overestimate my importance. I am a fucking nobody. Everybody seems to forget that sometimes. I am a fucking nobody. At best, I am a D-list YouTube celebrity. At best. So I remember people would often get mad at me. It's like, John, you had Chris Pine on your show. Not Chris Pine, sorry. You had, not Chris Pine. You had, Pratt. You had Chris Pratt on your show. Why aren't you being fair to DC? Why don't you bring in Zack Snyder? As if all I had to do was pick up a phone and say, yeah, Warner Brothers, send me Zack Snyder. Or as if Warner Brothers is pounding on my door. John, please, can we send you Ben Affleck? And can we send you Zack Snyder? And can we please send you Jeremy Irons, who plays Alfred? Can we please send these people to you? No, I don't want these guys on my show. So like people would write to me as if all I had to do was snap my fingers and just all I had to do was invite these guys to be on my show. And they would break down the doors to come and be on my show. Not the case. Believe me. Actually, I'm not going to say too much about it, but for those of you who've been watching me for a long period of time, going back to my previous places that I worked, we mentioned that we were working on something with Warner Brothers, and we were working on doing something with a Warner Brothers movie, a DC movie, much like, not the same thing, but much like what we did with Guardians of the Galaxy, where we had James Gunn, Chris Pratt, and Kevin Feige all come in to talk about this upcoming movie. We were working on something just kind of like that for a DC movie as well, and we were engaging with Warner Brothers, and we were going back and forth. It just never materialized, and we were never able to do it. Sam Witwer and Kyle Newman are busy guys. They're great guys. I will tweet with them once in a while. Kyle more than with Sam, but Sam once in a while. But these guys are busy. It's not like I can just say, Sam, come over. Like, I can't necessarily, but I will reach out and I'll see if I can get these guys on and see if they want to talk about this stuff a little bit for sure. I mean, they're both, huge Star Wars minds. Both of these guys are huge. Kyle Newman is so passionate about Star Wars. You guys should follow Kyle Newman, by the way, and obviously Sam Witwer as well. But you guys should follow Kyle Newman. I mean, this dude, he's not just a great Star Wars mind. He's got a great film mind. And he's funny and he's insightful. You guys should definitely follow Kyle Newman. Let's see. Michael Ginyard writes, what's your favorite movie based on 9/11? Mine is United 93. You know what? Oddly enough, I think my favorite one is the one Oliver Stone did with Nicolas Cage. And I know a lot of people don't like that movie, but for whatever reason, I can't remember the name of it, if it was Tower or something like that. You guys know the movie I'm talking about. For whatever reason that I can't explain, that one had a better emotional impact on me, had a bigger emotional impact on me. United 93 was definitely good. I enjoyed that one as well. But for whatever reason, the more unpopular Oliver Stone one, for some reason, hit me a little bit harder. I can't explain why. It's just one of those things, but that's probably the one for me. Next one comes to us from Ali Hussein, who writes, have you seen Jessica Jones Season 2? I think Season 2 is better in my opinion. What's your thoughts? Well, Ali, as I already said a little bit earlier, you probably wrote that in before I answered the previous question. I'm not a fan. I thought it was terrible, to be honest with you. I thought Season 1 was better. Let's see. ETT Media writes, is it possible to get John Schnepp on the show? I am generally leaning away from getting people who work Look, as you guys know, I am still in communication talk to on a regular basis the number of people that used to work for me. But I am leaning away from getting people from my old stuff on here. I'm not looking to move backwards. I'm not looking to creating Collider 2.0. Collider is what I made it. It was based completely around what I brought to it. And the style of show that I want to do. But they're starting to evolve and change into some things too. And whether you like it or not, that's up to you. But they're starting to change and putting their own unique individual thumbprint on it. But, you're probably, even though me and Mark Ellis were just at the Wrinkle in Time screening, hanging out and stuff like that. But I am not likely to bring Mark Ellis on my show. I'm not likely to bring, one of my favorite people in this town, Dennis Zen, on my show. I'm not looking to bring Christian Harloff on my show. I want there to be a very clear, defined line between who I am and what my shows are. And I don't want there to be any confusion about the previous place that I worked. I want there to be no confusion about that. So no, you probably won't. I probably won't have John on here strictly for that reason. And it's funny because I was just talking with Holly, John's girlfriend, also at the Wrinkle in Time thing. We bumped into her, chatting with her. She's one of the coolest ladies in Hollywood. But no, you're probably not going to see that happen. No. Dave Atkins just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Dave. Chris Warden writes, Dark Phoenix trailer in May with Deadpool 2 premiere. I actually think we might get it before that. My gut feelings might get something before that. So maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but we'll find out. Plus, I don't think we live in the era anymore where it has to release with a certain movie, because now that's not how people see trailers. People watch trailers online now. And so they'll put it out whenever it's best to put it out online. And I actually think that may be before Deadpool 2. Don't know for sure, but we'll find out. Guzz Off My Daddy. Nightcrawler starts with him killing a guy. Okay, yes, but again, it's all depends on how you interpret the movie and how it flows. To me, it's really about a guy's descent. But again, you guys can change my mind on that. Absolutely. I'm not digging in my heels and say this is my position. I can be swayed off this position easily. I'm just saying my first reaction is I just see it as more about the movie about a guy's descent. Yoda writes, I got about 10 minutes left here. Yoda writes, hey, John, I'm thinking of getting Cinemia. Does Cinemia require a social security number? Also, can you watch AMC Prime for all 2 days in the 2-day plan or once every 30 days? Okay. I don't think I had to sign up with my social security number with Cinemia. I mean, you need to have a credit card. And I think to have a credit card, you need to have a social security number. So, but no, I don't think you have to give your social security number to Cinemia, if I'm not mistaken. I believe with Cinemia, unlike MoviePass, which you can't go to a premium theater like an IMAX 3D or like a AMC Prime, you can, but you can only do that once in the 30 days. Like I have a 3 movie a month plan, And I can use one of those to go to an AMC Prime. The other two I have to use for regular screens. But still, it gives me a movie at the AMC Prime this month that I don't get with MoviePass. And to me, that's a pretty big deal. If you do sign up for it, Yoda, make sure you write back in again and let me know your experience with Cinemia and let me know what you're thinking of them. Chris Martin writes, John, have you seen Ghosts of the Abyss, James Cameron's Titanic documentary? So well done. Yeah, it is really well done. I thought it was cheesy that he was even doing it. Oh, the Titanic guy's doing it now, a Titanic documentary. It was really good. It's really good. It's a well-done documentary. If you haven't seen it, Chris obviously would recommend it. And Chris, that's a perfect movie that you can jump on. Let me do one more little shameless plug here. That you can jump on Stardust and let people know about. That's a great one to recommend. All right, next up, we got Holid Love who writes, why do people asking 2 questions in $5 super chats? I don't know. I generally only answer one question. But hey, people can ask whatever they want to ask. Mr. Film writes, guilty pleasure. Mine is Forgetting Sarah. Oh, Forgetting Sarah Marshall isn't a guilty pleasure, Mr. Film. To call something a guilty pleasure means that, okay, most people don't like this movie, but for me, it's a guilty pleasure. Everybody loves Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I mean, obviously not everybody. All film's subjective. There are people who don't. But for the most part, most people love Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That is not a guilty pleasure movie. A guilty pleasure movie for me is Cool as Ice, starring Vanilla Ice. And a lot of people seem to rag on Armageddon, and I actually really like Armageddon. I like Armageddon a lot. Phil Lee writes, better director 3 films in, Coogler or McDonough? Oh... I'll go McDonough. That's a close one, man. I could answer that completely differently tomorrow. Coogler is on such a streak right now, and he's got such a great eye, and he can clearly do different things. Like Fruitvale Station is so different from Black Panther. He's showing some great diversity. I will lean towards McDonough right now, but it's a good question, man. That's a really tight one right there. Very, very tight. Okay, Hold Love writes, why not a $3 question and a $2? Well, I mean, I don't know, Holland. You'll have to ask those people, not me. Tracy E. writes, I saw a story about Black Panther fans demanding a Black Panther / Wakanda series from Netflix. Isn't that for Disney to decide, not Netflix? Yeah, Disney has to be the one to want to okay that. It's not going to happen. There's no way going to happen. Disney's keeping that cinematic. That's where they're going to make far more money off of keeping that cinematic than they would off of putting it on Netflix. Far more money. Like, it's not even comparable. So no, you're not going to see that happen. No way that Disney would let that happen. I'm sure Netflix would jump at the chance to do a Black Panther Wakanda kind of series. I'm sure they would jump at the chance to do it. There's no way Disney would allow that. No way. Cobra writes, Godzilla 2 is already had test screening. Isn't it a bit early? Could Warner Brothers be bringing it forward? No, look, first of all, I don't know that it actually has. I've seen whispers about it, but I haven't heard anybody from the studio say, yes, we did this. So I don't even know that that's true. But even if it did, then no, like these little test screens could be to see, hey, we're early on the process. Where do we need to make some adjustments and things? I don't think they're going to move it up early. So, and no, this isn't unusual. If them to show some kind of test audiences to gauge reactions before they go into major reshoots, that's probably just kind of par for the course. I wouldn't read anything into that, to be honest. Comic Doctor writes, Last Jedi was Kathleen's way of breaking up with original fans. I am 46 lots of Star Wars movie going left in me. Fans wanted more from original cast, more Luke. Well, I don't know. I mean, look, all I can say to that, Comic Doctor, is speak for yourself. I am one of the hardest core Star Wars fans you're ever going to meet. My whole life and my career path has been defined by Star Wars. Didn't break up with me. So, I mean, you got to speak for yourself. I'm not saying that's not true of everybody. I'm sure there are people that were turned off by the movie. That's fan. To me, Kathleen Kennedy loves Star Wars. I think they tried something very bold. They tried something very different. And while it was not what I was looking for in Luke Skywalker, I still loved what they gave me. Like, you guys know me, I wanted to see Luke Skywalker take out a lightsaber and wipe out 50 fools. That's what I wanted to see. But they gave me something different than what I wanted to see. So what I have to do is take what I wanted to see, my expectations, and put it aside and just watch what they gave me. And I thought what they gave me was great. And you know I have my issues with Star Wars The Last Jedi. But the thing that I loved about Star Wars The Last Jedi was actually what they did with Luke. I thought it was far deeper than what anybody was looking for, far more meaningful than what anybody else was looking for. I thought it was fantastic. There are people out there, clearly like yourself, who don't agree, and that's fine. All film is subjective. I got no problem that it didn't work for you. But don't speak for everybody when you say, this was Kathleen Kennedy breaking up with Star Wars fans. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm as pretty much legit as a Star Wars fan as you get. And I liked it. It didn't break up with me. And I know a hell of a lot of people who agree with me. And I'm sure there are a whole bunch of people that agree with you too. It's all subjective. But no, I disagree with you entirely about this was her breakup letter for other things. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. They tried something bold. They tried something different. They didn't play it safe. Something that we keep screaming at studios to do. But I don't know what people are asking for. People complain when studios play it safe. But as soon as a studio does something that doesn't play it safe, we whine and complain. I mean, look, if you want them to play it, if you don't want them to play it safe, that means they need to do something bold and try something different. And if they do something bold and different, you can't complain that they're doing something bold and different. Maybe what they did didn't work for you. Just because they do something bold and different doesn't mean you necessarily have to like it. But let's not complain that they tried something bold and different when we've been screaming at them to try something bold and different, especially after the criticisms, what I thought were unfair criticisms that The Force Awakens got. The Force Awakens, everybody complained. They played it too safe. All they did was what was safe. They just did what everybody expected. They just did this and this and this. Okay, so then they come out with The Last Jedi and try something totally bold and different. And we're complaining that they tried something bold and different. I'm just not quite sure that where they win in this scenario. Look, I understand. I have my issues with The Last Jedi. I know a lot of people have bigger issues with The Last Jedi. That's the subjective nature of film, and that's the beautiful thing about film. But again, I disagree with you because I'm a Star Wars fan and it wasn't a breakup letter to me. I quite liked what they did. Let's see. Next one. Michael Ginyard writes, an old interview with O.J. Simpson is coming on tonight. Have you met him before or after the trial? No, I was too young for that. This is before I was even really in the business. So I've never met O.J. I'll be honest with you. The O.J. stuff doesn't interest me all that much. Even all the new documentary stuff that they did, I was just not into it. I really don't care about the O.J. Simpson stuff like whatsoever. So no, but no, I never met O.J. Simpson. David Akins writes, hello from London. Thoughts on the MCU Netflix shows? Well, they're becoming very hit and miss to me. On the one hand, you've got Daredevil Season 1, Daredevil Season 2, Punisher, whole bunch of kick-ass. And I even like The Defenders. I thought The Defenders was pretty good. But Luke Cage, the first half of the season, pardon me, the first half of Luke Cage Season 1 was fantastic. The second half of Luke Cage Season 1, not so good. Iron Fist was dreadful. I'm not a fan of I'm a fan of Jessica Jones, but I'm not a fan with what they did with the show. I was not nearly as enamored with Season 1 as a lot of other people were. And I think Season 2 is just awful. I think Season 2 is awful. So the Netflix MCU stuff is very hit and miss for me right now. I was very, very excited about it before, but as they've put out more stuff, I'm going, I'm not as into this. Punisher was great, but it's hit and miss. That's kind of my feelings on it right now is hit and miss. All right, Jake C writes, how excited are you for Kong/Godzilla 2020? I'm in a wait and see kind of feeling for both of those right now. I'm just a little bit in a wait and see kind of mood for those two movies. I'm not overly negative, but at the same time, I'm not overly positive. I'm kind of in a holding pattern right now until we start to see what direction these things are going to go, until we see some footage, until we see some trailers. I'm just kind of, once again, I use the phrase, just in a wait and see mood for that right now. Sebastian Lerda writes, John, if tomorrow they do a biopic of you, which actor would you cast to play you? You can't say ex-talented actor or Daniel Day-Lewis is off the table. Love the show, following you since Collider. I don't care. I don't know. I really don't. Sorry, you don't want me to say ex-talented actor, but that's what I'm going to say. Ex-talented actor. I don't play the who's right to play this role, even if the role is me. So I have no answer to that. I don't know. I don't care. Clearly, it has to be somebody who is stunningly good looking. I mean, if you're going to do a movie about me, you clearly need somebody who, makes Brad Pitt look like an ass face. You need somebody who is so legendarily good looking that it would almost be too good looking. You know what I mean? But how else are you going to capture this? Okay, anyway, let's move on. Next one comes to us from, where were we? And we'll get into the last just 2 or 3 questions here, and then we're going to wrap it up and call it a day. This one comes to us from, have you seen the latest, from Ali, who writes, have you seen the latest episode of Gotham? What is your thoughts on when Bruce meets certain someone? You understand, you've seen that episode. I have not seen the episode, so I can't even begin to answer the question because I have not seen the latest episode yet. I have not seen the latest thing. I don't know who you're talking about when Bruce meets somebody. Again, but my whole feeling on Gotham is hit and miss. I'm not against it because they've done some stuff that's great. I really disliked everything they've done with, I hate just about everything they've done with the Bruce Wayne character, especially the last 2 seasons or so. This whole, look guys, this kid's going to become Batman. It's been so overplayed and done so seriously. If this kid was real, this kid would have the crap kicked out of him. I mean, the butler, Alfred, would have just kicked the snot out of this kid by this point and say, I am out of here, kid. You are on this. The kid's insufferable. The actor is great. I love the kid playing the role. I do. I think he's doing a great job. I just don't like what the writers are doing with it. I like Gotham when it has nothing to do with Bruce Wayne. When it's about Gordon, I like the show a lot. Once they start going over to the Bruce stuff, it turns me off, to be honest with you. History Soup sends in a super chat. Phil Lee writes, over under 30%, we get a Willem scream in Solo. Oh, I'll take the over on that for sure. Absolutely. I would set the over under at 70%, to be honest with you. But I think the Wilhelm scream is definitely making an appearance. I would put my money on it definitely making an appearance in the movie. All right, the last one we'll take today. And by the way, guys, any questions that came in that I do not get to, don't worry. They will pop up on either a special companion video or on the next episode of Open Mic tomorrow on Monday. But either way, you will hear your question answered tomorrow on Monday. Lincoln Robinson writes, Batman vs. Superman would have been epic to me if it started with scene of Batman in future. Extended cut was more digestible. I re-edited the movie and it plays better to me. Wish theatrical was better. On thoughts. Well, I mean, a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine in the film industry, did his own cut of Batman vs. Superman. I think he called it the Arkham cut. And it was much better than either the extended edition or the theatrical edition. See, the problem with me, the extended edition or the ultimate edition, whatever they call the long 3+ hour cut of it, to me, it was mildly better than the theatrical. So many people are like, oh my God, it's like a totally different movie. No, it wasn't. They added about 20 extra minutes of scenes, but they didn't edit anything else out. They didn't rearrange anything else. They didn't do anything to improve the movie. They just threw more material in it. And there was some good material. So to me, it made it mildly better. It is the better edition of it, but it was not the night and day difference that some people made out to be, in my opinion. It just was not the night and day difference that a lot of people made it out to be. I think there were a number of things they could have done with that movie to make it much more digestible, much better. So I'm completely in agreement with you on that one, Lincoln. I really, really am. I don't know about starting it with a scene of Batman in the future. I don't know if that changes things up all too much, but I do agree with you that a good editor could have made that movie like 50% better. A good editor could have made that movie 50% better. So that's just kind of my feelings on that. All right, guys, that will do it for this Sunday edition of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget, guys, this wasn't a regular edition. This is the weekend. We take things more casually. Tomorrow, of course, the movie news feed is back. We'll be back to our regular kind of pattern of the show. We'll be back again tomorrow, once again, with our first installment of What We're Watching segment. I'm really excited to get things going on that. And hey, listen, guys, do me a favor. One of the questions that came in today was from one of our Patreon supporters. This show and these videos on my channel are only possible because of the support of my Patreon supporters. Do me a favor, guys. If you like watching my shows, just do me this. go over to patreon.com/John Campea and just get the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter keeps these shows alive, and what benefits there are to being a Patreon supporter. And then maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too, which would be awesome if you did. And if you don't, no problem. I'm just glad you're here being a film fan. But let me take again another opportunity to express my thanks to all of you guys who are already Patreon supporters. You really make this show happen. Thank you so much for that. Also, guys, don't forget, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you're following me on social media. Just hop on Twitter and follow me simply at John Campea. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.